morning. This is Elder Mary Ann. We are doing the Purple Book, a 52 lesson introduction to the 66 books of the Bible. Through the Bible in 1 year by Dr. Ellen B. Stringfellow. The book we are doing is Job. And today is July the 28th on the year of 2026. And we're going into the page of 75. We already touched all the subjects, and we're going into the questions today because this is the last day of the month. On a Tuesday, it's not the last day. The last day is actually the 31st. But we're doing we're doing on the book on the last Tuesday of the month. How much do you remember? Number one questions are, what are the three main divisions of the book? And the book of Job is mainly divided into three parts. Job's distress, chapters 1 to 3, and Job's defense and dialogues, chapter 4 to chapter 37, and Job's deliverance and God's response, chapter 38 to 42. Basically, the book touched on Job's distress, which is in chapter 1 to 3, is he's thinking about suddenly he lost his family, his wealth, and his health, and is followed by his opening lament. We see that Job is defense to his friends, visited by his friends. And the first one, chapters 4 to 37, a large poetic section featuring arguments and speeches between Job and his three friends and Elihu. Job's deliverance, chapters 38 to 42. God answers Job out of the whirlwind. Job responds in humility, and God restores Job's fortune in the story. In this Bible book, we learn that we must be humble. We must be, seeking God at all times. Because Job is a good man. He lived his life according to God's words. And the thing about it is that it must be reliable to God. It's the life that we travel through the earth is a short time. But our time on earth is a long time. It's forever. And we must know that, by Job's example, we must know that every detail God have us aligned. God changes us through things that happens in our life. We must strictly respond to God in a purposeful way by living our life before God. As God is part of us 24/7, He is with us, never changing God. He's a living God. He lives with us. And the second question is, Satan limited to God? Yes, Satan is strictly limited to God in the book of Job, where he cannot act without direct divine permission and must operate within boundaries set by God. I learned from my mistakes, like before, something, a picture and things that say, this and that, your son is going to have accident today, but you allowed that. But I didn't really think that it was questioning me. But whatever question that we have from now on must be God intervening to us, that we must pray at all times, be a confident between God and you, that you must be obedient and subjected to God. Define boundaries on Satan's action. God did not give Satan permission. Permission required to Satan cannot touch Job, or his property until God grant him explicit permission to do so. And the step-by limits in the first round of trusting Job, chapter 1:12, God allows Satan to take away Job's possessions and children, but expressly forbids him from laying a hand on Job's physical body. He is not allowed to touch him nor kill him. He is not allowed. God forbid that. The physical restriction in the second round, Job chapter 2:6, when Satan is allowed to strike Job's health with painful sores, God places one final restriction, only to spare his life. Could you imagine that? You must be obedient to God. And question number 3. Was the conversation between God and Satan real or fictional? Now, the Job in the story in a prophetic way that the 3 friends all visited Job, who came to comfort and advise him. If you come to visit a hurting soul, like we are all called to do a chaplaincy, you must be ready to be a welcoming soul when others are afflicted. The friends that visited him, who came to comfort him, was Abilas, Bildad, and Zophar. The 3 friends, Abilas, the terminate, spoke first and argued that suffering comes. Hello, good morning, Mother Dora. We're doing the Bible study right now. It's a recording. Please put yourself on hold, on the mute. Thank you. Abilas, the terminate, spoke first and argued. Why would you argue with someone who's hurting? The first response supposedly to pray before God. Ask him for direction. If you really truly love that friend, you would not want to argue with them, especially they are hurting. That suffering comes only to those who sin. Why would you argue and then convince that friend that they have sinned? No. Everyone sin even when they are born. Bildad, the Shemite, claimed Job's children must have done wrong and urged Job to ask for mercy. Who would you accuse your friends' children of doing wrong? But if we are all called intercessors, we are proclaiming God's will into others' believers, knowing that God has the answer and will have the answer for them. They just need to wait unto God. God will finally answer. But when Bildad the Shuhite claimed Job's children must have done wrong and urged Job to ask God for mercy. Could you imagine that? And the third friend that came, Soper, the Nemanech, talked the hardest and told Job he deserves even worse pain. Can you imagine that friend that you dearly love and you went to comfort them? What kind of comfort is that? Why would you talk the hardest and told Job he deserved even the worst pain? He's painful already. Why would you want your friend to have more pain? Why? If you like, I can tell you that Job is a trustworthy man. That's why Satan plans all things out, asking God for permission to do all that. But I really want to reassure you that God has the best intention for us. Number 3, what was the conversation between God and Satan, real or fictional? The main message of the book of Job is faith endures through deep suffering. God is in control. Remember, God is in control all the time. And true love for God is not transitional. It's according to your wave of faithfulness, being on the prayer line each and every day. When you speak, you have to think, am I saying this right or wrong? So don't be quick to speak, but slow to answer. Be slow to answer and quick to listen. The honest question, Job loses his family, wealth, and health, yet he cries out to God and asks why. Why? We all do that, including myself. Why, God? Why this happening? I know you blessed me with the best son. You gave me a son when I asked for it. The second thing of faithfulness is no easy answers. There is none easy answer. Only God does not explain the reasons for the pain that we are going through of losing a loved one. If you give up the line, where will you turn? But reminds Job of the vast and complex world. We live in a complex world where there's even kill many people and even kill a 2-year-old kid in New Jersey. Just the rain just shortly. Some poles came down and some trees came down. You know, we have no easy answers for any of that. Weathers and fire killed France and Spain. Mouse and people trying to cut the fire. Was it a why or is it God? No, things happen for a reason, and we must learn to trusting in God. Staying true. The book shows that being a good person does not mean you will never suffer, and it is okay to express the grief that you are going through and the doubt that you are going through. Only God has the answers for you. I have mentioned before you the 3 friends, an explanation already an answer to number 4. Name the 3 friends of Job who gave him advice of all wrong, not trusting in God. And the thing about it is that God is indisposable. We may be indisposable on the earth, but our time on living in heaven is a long time. It's the thing that say we must to trust God. And remember that without trust, you have nothing. His friends were Epelas, the Terminite, the Bildad, the Shuhite, Soper, the Nemehite. The thing about being a true friend is not saying that that friend is all wrong. That friend is Job is a living testament in itself. The book that's book of our friends. We have worldly friends. We have godly friends. We have apostle friends. We have evangelist friends. We have Trappist friends. We have good friends and bad friends. Bad friends is the one that you pray about, and hopefully that they will see God. And the three friends that all gave him wrong. Suffering only to those who sin and done wrong, and urged Job to ask God for mercy. Told Job he deserved even worse pain. Those are the bad friends, but we must learn from them. And number 5, what is the message of Job to you? A good person does not mean that you will never suffer, and it is okay to express grief and doubt to God at all times. He's there created us to have fellowship with God and trusting God in all things. Trusting God means the pearl motives. The story answers a challenge about whether people only serve God for rewards. Or you ask yourself, are you serving God only for the rewards? Are you serving God because you have a deeper relationship with God? Or are you serving God for whatever reasons? What is the motives behind it? To love God. God is greatest God answers from a storm, showing that human minds cannot fully grasp how the universe works. And number 3, finding peace. True faith means trusting God's goodness, even when life does not make sense. In the historical and personality dialogue that you write about your life, make it a time that you express thankfulness to God and giving God everything that he deserves. I once asked one of my friends, my besties, who do you think is the greatest, the pastor or the evangelist? And my besties told me, Mary is not the title. It is absolutely serving God wholeheartedly, the one that is faithful, being obedient to the word, not accusations, but trusting God for everything. My besties told me that you go do the things that God sees the truthfulness of the heart. Yes, the heart might be might be sinful, but you find peace and you find the motives and you find God's greatness behind it all. This is Elder Mary Eng, the story of Job. He's a living testament. God is life with Job, and we learn from these about our friends. and how to deal with people, how to respond, and living a way of serving whatever God put in your life to do. Do it wholeheartedly to God. Even when you have to wake up at 3 a.m. and mommy, my body hurts, and rub the husband with the lotions, the Chinese herbal medicine to rub it, and then align his body that he can lie down comfortably all night long, and get him up at 7 a.m. this morning. So my life, you may say, people that don't understand it will say, oh, your life is so hard. No. God that say to me, everything you do for a loved one or a stranger or your neighbor, you're doing it to God. Good day. My name is Elder Mary Ng, and this is the Purple Book by Dr. Ellen B. Stringfellow. We are on the Jesus Sims prayer line. Have a good day. May God bless your incoming and outgoing. Thank you.